They may chanted from a sedentary position.
It shows yet again just how far her party has slid from serious statesperson. That sounds like the old Tory party I used to know.
Now, before anyone goes down the route of what has been happening between Gaza and Israel and what roles both the Tory and the Labour governments have done on this, who's got blood on their hands and all that, this video is not really about this. This video is about the performance of Kemi Badenoch. Yeah, Kemi Badenoch, and how ridiculous she made herself look. What I mean is, in this situation, this was the moment where the whole house was supposed to come together and be as one. Now, did Kemi Badenoch read the room?
The initial phase of the US-backed peace plan represents a significant breakthrough. I want to thank the US administration, President Trump, and regional mediators for having secured this outcome. They put in the hard yards and found solutions, making clear that all progress would depend on the release of the hostages, a condition that some other governments forgot. Mr. Speaker, with this peace deal, there is much to be hopeful for in the Middle East. If the Abraham Accords are expanded, a new age of peace will have arrived. We will see diplomatic normalization of Israel with the Arab world, something many of us have longed to see. And it saddens me that the Prime Minister's statement does not appear to show that the UK was at the heart of any of these efforts specifically. It is quite clear that UK relations with Israel have been strained by the actions of this government. Their view, and they have stated publicly, is that it looks like under pressure from his own backbenchers, the Prime Minister has taken the wrong decisions, time and time again, diminishing our influence in the region. They can shout shame as much as they want to, Mr. Speaker. Within weeks of Labour coming into power, they decided to restore funding to UNRWA. We haven't forgotten. An organisation, they say yes, that's an organisation whose members assisted in the kidnapping of these hostages, the release which we are celebrating today. Relations with Israel have been so damaged that when Israel launched strikes against Iran, a country that has been a direct threat to us for years, the UK was out of the loop. They may not like it, but it is the truth. And then, in a move praised by Hamas, Labour decided to recognise a state of Palestine with no condition to release the hostages still held in the tunnels of Gaza, rewarding terrorism. They may chant from a sedentary position. I will remind them of what the former British-Israeli hostage, Emily Damari, said. She called it a moral failure. I'm surprised to hear the Prime Minister say in his statement that it was a contribution to this peace deal. We all know that the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, condemned this recognition, saying it had made ceasefire negotiations harder. That is what the US said. The truth is, as historic events have unfolded in the Middle East, Britain has been out of step with the US. The US ambassador to Israel even called the government's claim that it played a key role in the ceasefire delusional, something Israeli foreign ministers agreed with.
Well, that's enough of that bollocks there. Now, she spoke about welcoming upscaling for protection for the country's Jewish community and spoke about the statement about Palestinian Authority after that. But, basically talking the country down and basically saying how shit we are now. She then had the cheek to say this, and I quote, this is hilarious: "Britain is a great country and still a powerful one. I'm only saying this so you don't have to listen to her nonsense. We still have agency to shape the world around us. The government must do better and show that they have the backbone to use Britain's power to make a better world." Now, as I have said earlier, this is not a video about who's in the wrong with this conflict or anything like that. But this is about Kemi Badenoch, and yes, I know it's going to be Keir Starmer next, but he just basically encapsulates the reason why she just clearly misreads the room.
I was surprised and saddened that she spent more time attacking what we actually did to help the process than even mentioning the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Without setting out in terms the number of people that have been killed, that are starving, been subjected to denial of aid, when the immediate task for any serious government is to work with allies to get that aid in at speed. I would have expected at least an acknowledgement of that terrible situation. It shows yet again just how far her party has slid from serious statesperson approach to diplomacy. This is not the time for a fight about what role any individual played. I am proud of what Steve Witkoff said about our National Security Advisor. He was negotiating this. He knows absolutely the role we played. And this House should be proud that we played that role. We played that role only because of the relationship that this government has with the Trump administration. We are a trusted partner working both before this peace deal and afterwards. And yes, I did discuss recognition of Palestine with President Trump when he was over here. That's what grown-up, responsible partners do, unlike the discussion here. And I'd stand by my words that the first time in New York was the first time that other countries in the region were clear in their condemnation of Hamas. That was a key and important aspect of what has now happened. In relation to her questions, she will know from the reforms that have already been committed to, that the Palestinian Authority and any elections will not tolerate any election of individuals or parties that are not committed to a peaceful process. That is an absolute red line. It is part of the agreement. It's what we've been talking to other allies about for a very, very long time. On healthcare cases, yes, as I reported, we have had healthcare cases coming to the United Kingdom and students, and of course we're extremely careful in the checks that we carry out on everybody that comes to this country. But I return, Mr. Speaker, to the fact that this is a historic deal. It is important for the region. It is important for the world. It is to be celebrated across this House because of the relief it brings to the hostages and their families in particular, and to the many thousands of people in Gaza. And I was, as I say, surprised and saddened that she overlooked what to me is a really important part of the resolution of this conflict.
I get it, that this was Keir Starmer. He's about as interesting as root canal work or racist Robert, on quantitative easing. If you want to see that video, that is hilarious. But there's a point to this, because you look at her pointing and looking rather agitated. But the thing is, there's a time for political knockabout, isn't there? And it was clear around the room this wasn't it. If Kemi Badenoch and her party want to be really taken seriously, she needs to recognise that it's not time for a political knockabout. It's basically a time for diplomacy, and this was the time for diplomacy. And when she was sniping, I didn't see much support for her, behind her. Probably a lot of them were probably cringing, and after David did his bit, knowing that this really wasn't the time for sticking the boot in, and showed why it's a bit of a crying shame that the Lib Dems didn't quite become the party of opposition at the last election, should I say. I did wonder how the Tory backbenchers play this. Would they show diplomacy and statesmanship and all that, or would they follow their leader and stick the boot in and show support for her? Well, the first one up was the father of the house, Edward Lee.
Beneath all the peace rhetoric, the brutal Hamas regime was openly executing people yesterday and refused to give up their weapons. Prime Minister Netanyahu has said he's going to remove them by force if necessary. He refuses to accept a state in the West Bank. I mean, it may be naive, but cannot both sides of the House unite in saying that we are absolutely, completely committed to creating a Palestinian state in the West Bank? This is their God-given right, and it's the only way we're going to end this cycle of despair and violence.
That sounds like the old Tory party I used to know. And I'm really pleased to hear it. because it is only, in a sense, by uniting across this House in the face of a conflict that's gone on for far too long and being clear-eyed about the only way there can be peace that is lasting, that we will be able to play a full part as our country in bringing that about. And I welcome the old tone and the old content that I just heard.
And there you have it. Like other Tory backbenchers, they read the situation and realised this was the time for diplomacy, and it wasn't a time to do political point scoring. Even when Stephen Flynn got up, and there's no love lost between Flynn and Starmer and the SNP and Labour, even he realised that today isn't the day to stick the boot in. Clearly she cannot read a situation at all, can she? So much so, she even made Deform look and sound rational and sane compared to her.
Mr. Speaker, we all welcome the release of the hostages, the ceasefire, the beginning of the end of the suffering in Gaza. And I know the joy of the hostage families that I met a couple of weeks ago in Israel will be ecstatic. But as we hope that the divisions start to reduce in the Middle East, we must also hope that we can reduce the heat and the division of this debate here in the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister quite rightly has referred to the rise of anti-Semitism. And does he join me in hoping that now is the time that hopefully the protests we've seen on our streets, with anti-Semitic chants such as "from the river to the sea," that now is the time to bring those to an end as we try and unify, bring people together and move forwards.
Madam Deputy Speaker, this ceasefire is tremendous news, and my sincere congratulations to everybody who was involved in bringing it about, whoever they were, including the British government. I was in Israel last week, and on the day that the ceasefire was announced, I visited the Nova festival site, and I spoke to civilians and soldiers on the Gaza border. And the Israelis I spoke to were deeply dismayed that the British government had decided to recognise the state of Palestine before Hamas had released its hostages, let alone disarmed. Does the Prime Minister understand why Israel cannot tolerate the idea of a state on its border that poses a security risk to its citizens? And will he undertake not to move forward to support the establishment of a Palestinian state until there is more than the promise, there is actually the reality of security for Israel?
And that's basically how the questions went on after Kemi Badenoch decided to make it about her. This was about, let's be honest, what's happening in Gaza and in Israel, not what she hopes to get out of a viral social media clip. Now, I would love to know who her advisors really are, if she has any. Surely she does, and if she does she listen to them, or if they just are as politically abject as she is? Did they read the speech? And if they did they say, I think you better change that bit, it's probably not the right moment? Or did they think, do you know what, Kemi, that's an absolute banger of a speech? And if they did tell her why to leave it out, clearly she didn't listen to them then, did she? Also, clearly she cannot adapt to the situation and act accordingly, can she? She can only go one way and be as adversarial or as confrontational as she possibly can be. Clearly diplomacy and being conciliatory isn't for her. For me, I think the Tories, I think it's coming close where they should just bite the bullet and just get rid of her, even if it means getting Batman on his Bob Jenrick for a time to, take the party even further into irrelevance. Because if they think the only way is to he's going to go up with honest Bob Jenrick, then they're in for a rude awakening. And if that's what is necessary to get through the nonsense of this, because they think that they need to out Farage, so be it, until they realise it's pointless. Because let's be honest, why would Farage cultists vote for a half-fat Farage when they can have the full-fat Farage in all his glory? Because let's be honest, the sooner they get in a serious opposition leader, they'll be a serious opposition party once again, hopefully. Now, maybe thinking, oh, maybe not, but it depends on who replaces them. In my eyes, I hope it's the Lib Dems, but don't be surprised if it turns out to be Reform. So we need to be very careful. Now, like I've said earlier, this video isn't about who's got blood on their hands and who are supporters of Israel and show not enough support for Palestine. And for me personally, I think they've both been really, really abject in doing their best for the Palestinian people. But that's for another video and for other people to make videos about. This video is about how Kemi Badenoch showed after a year of being a leader, she's learnt nothing and proved that she has no political acumen, I suppose you could say, because again, she made a right price tit of herself again, didn't she? But what do you guys think? Let me know what you think down below, and I shall just bid you farewell and take care, my friends.